Welcome back, friends. I'm Yvonne Davis, your traveling warrior astrologer. And today I'm going to be talking about the Pluto-Mercury conjunction. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up that chart. And while I'm doing that, I hope you will subscribe to my channel if you're not yet subscribed. Please click like on this video, share with friends and family and on social media, and leave your comments below. And thank you everyone for the sweet comments lately. I really appreciate it. All right, so let's look at this chart. Here what we see is Mercury. And this is one of the most important players in this chart. So I'm going to start with Mercury. Mercury is like the hero of the hero's journey. And Mercury is also the mind, the communicator, the messenger. So Mercury rules Gemini and is the natural ruler of the third house of communication. The third house, ruled by Mercury, controls the area of life where we are thinking, writing, reading, communicating, and anything related to communication. Anything that you can possibly think of that you are communicating or taking information in, and the technologies related to that. It also rules travel. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you are traveling, but a lot of the times there's something about Mercury ruling the third house. I like to think of it as the house of reality creation. Because the way we think about things, the way we perceive our reality and take that information in, and the way we express ourselves and communicate that information out to the world is filtered through our belief systems and our understanding of reality. So the most fundamental way that I think about the third house ruled by Mercury is the house of reality creation. So think of Mercury as the embodiment of the hero archetype, and that's you. You're on a journey. Think about yourself as that hero on a journey. Think of yourself as Mercury, that archetype of the hero on a journey. Think of yourself going to the entrance to that cave, and you've already faced the dragon. So maybe you know who that dragon is, or maybe there were multiple dragons. In archetypal psychology, we would call this the guardian of the threshold. And the guardians of the threshold manifest externally as usually as people, or sometimes as some kind of entity, like an institution, an authority figure. So if it's not a specific person, it would be the overall entity. So obviously there are individuals who work in these entities, but you may not be really having a relationship with a specific person, but rather with that entity or that institution or that authority. So just keep that in mind, because I don't want you to be thinking only of a specific individual. Although it may be a specific individual, often it's a family member, or an important relationship could be at work or otherwise. So anyone who is important in your life in some way, even if it's not a really close relationship, like for example, an authority figure, if you were in a court case or something like that, it would be probably the judge. So those would be the guardians of the threshold. And yes, they are manifesting externally, but they're actually mirrors upon which we project our interior understanding of who the guardian of the threshold is. And basically, who the guardian of the threshold is your fear. You're projecting your fear onto that screen, that mirror. And a lot of the times people think it's real. So I'll just give you an example. Often our guardians of the threshold might be our parents, because we have a relationship with them where they've been the authority figure in our lives. And even though we may be adults, we will still be in that kind of child-parent relationship. where we've internalized them as an authority figure, and we still want to please them. It takes a long time to get over that. You can be in your 50s or older and still want to please your parents. And so they can become the guardian of the threshold because they are the projection of your fears. In other words, they may have fears. So, as an example, my father for a long time was afraid of me being self-employed, and he would criticize and judge and harangue me to get a job, get a real job. And it took me a long time to realize that when I was experiencing him as the guardian of the threshold, in other words, I couldn't cross the threshold into the new reality that I would create and live in until I could face that guardian of the threshold. And while it's true that, yes, he was external to me, he was, he's a real person. He was external to me. He was manifesting the fears externally. So all of that is true. But really, fundamentally, I was projecting my own fears onto him. And that's how he became the guardian of the threshold. Someone can't be the guardian of the threshold if they don't matter to you, or if their fears don't matter to you. So, as an example, when you work on YouTube, one of the things that every single YouTuber has to deal with is, especially when they get to a certain level of views and subscribers, they have to deal with haters and trolls. There's no getting around it. And at first that may feel daunting and can slow you down, because over time, anyone who's going to do this work seriously realizes that they have to get over it. Because if they don't get past that guardian of the threshold, it's going to keep them from doing what they want to do and achieving their goals. So basically, in order to achieve those goals, they have to slay the dragon. And so that's an example, okay? People who come to YouTube and make nasty comments, the trolls, the haters, they're the guardians of the threshold. But you don't let that stop you. Over time, you realize, oh, that's just my fear. I'm projecting my fear onto them. Because when they don't matter to you, you don't get scared anymore. You just delete it. So that's the point I'm trying to make, is that while, the person external to you is real, they may have fears that they're expressing that are real. But what I'm saying is they don't become your guardian of the threshold unless you are projecting your fears onto them. So if what your father says does scare you and upset you and stop you, it's because you are projecting your own internal fears onto him. He becomes the screen for your fears, and he becomes the guardian of the threshold. But if it's someone who doesn't matter to you, you don't care what their opinion is, they don't become the guardian of the threshold because you don't care. There's no fear in you. So they can stand there as a screen to project onto you, but you're not projecting because there's no fear in you to project. And so I hope that makes sense, that yes, this person or whatever it is true, it's real, it's external, and whatever that person is, that they do have actual fears, but they can't affect you as the guardian of the threshold unless you have those fears inside of you and you project them out onto them. They become a screen for your projection. They become a mirror for your projection. And that's the guardian of the threshold. So this is the hero's journey. And that's the first step, is to meet the guardian of the threshold and slay that dragon, so that you can now go into the underworld and meet with the god of the underworld. That's Pluto. Now, I'm sure a lot of people would wonder, why in the hell would you want to go meet with the god of the underworld? That sounds horrible. Well, the reason is because that's where the buried treasure is. So Pluto is the god of the underworld. It's giving you an opportunity to gather together the buried treasure. and take it back up with you so that you have that gold. That's the golden light of empowerment. That's wealth. That's why you go into the underworld. That's why you meet with Pluto. That's why you do your shadow work. And if you don't know what shadow work is, just Google it or do a search. I have done some videos on my other channel, Freedom Seeker, and there's always a link in the description box below to my other channel. So you can go over there and you can find it. It's very easy to find on the front page of my Freedom Seeker channel. I may even put a link here in this video for you. But shadow work is essentially for empowerment. And it's absolutely essential. That's why you go there. That's why you do it. And in alchemy, which is often called Hermeticism or Hermetic alchemy, that's what we're doing is shadow work. We're going into the underworld for our initiation into power. And then we can bring that buried treasure up, that gold, which is the golden light of empowerment and wealth. Interestingly enough, Hermes is the other name for Mercury. So this is very much a hermetic alchemical journey that we're on here. And we've been on it since December, and it actually started to roll out in November. But then we really got the big dose in December, possibly around Christmas. And then we started to think about the direction we wanted to move in. And there may have been multiple threads to it, but in a way, they're all tied to the same goal of living an authentic life in alignment so that you can step out into the world as an empowered person. So we're really in the depth of this process now with all this planetary energy in Capricorn this weekend, with Mercury retrograde conjoining Pluto and having that face-to-face conversation with Pluto, which, I really can't emphasize enough how important this is. It's the most important work you can do in your life, because if you aren't going down there and doing this initiation, you are missing the opportunity of your life. That's why I like to describe it as an archetype of the hero's journey, because who doesn't want to be the hero of their life and to go on that hero's journey and slay those dragons that are trying to stop you from getting your own wealth and power and living your life, your fullest life? Why would you want to be at the mercy of those dragons and those guardians of the threshold who are trying to stop you from going into the cave and getting the buried treasure and meeting with Pluto? So if you're not familiar with these archetypes and you want to learn more, check out the link below to my Patreon account. Become a patron. It's only $5. You can join us and come to the live Zoom meetings every Friday afternoon, and we can talk about these things face-to-face in immediate conversation, so that if you want to understand this archetypal journey, come on over to my Patreon channel. I'm there to help you to understand, and if you have any questions, I can answer them for you. I want you to understand this as deeply as you possibly can. Or you can do research on it, online, because there is tons and tons of research out there about these archetypes and about alchemy. Alchemy is fundamentally transmuting lead into gold. Lead is the woundedness within us that we carry throughout our lives. And that's what gets projected onto the guardian of the threshold, because that's your inner fear. That's your inner woundedness. So when you get past the guardians of the threshold, you slay those dragons. You go into the underworld. You have a conversation with Pluto. Another good myth to look at is the Persephone myth. It's one of the best for understanding the Platonic initiation. And it's interesting because Ceres, also known as Demeter, is actually also in Capricorn right now. So this is a very much about the hero's journey. And it is about a Plutonic initiation. And that's what Persephone had. She had a Plutonic initiation, and she became the queen of the underworld. She became the sovereign of the underworld. And she was then free to go above ground whenever she wanted to, because she became the sovereign of her own life. That's why we go into the underworld, to become the sovereign of our own life, to take back our power. Okay. Now, another hero's journey you might think of is the Odyssey. Odysseus goes on the hero's journey and he goes into the underworld. Now, all heroes have to do that. It's just part of the hero's journey. So, as an example, the Odyssey will help you to understand how powerful this hero's journey is for the warrior, for the hero. You will be the warrior and hero of your own life. Your power, your wealth depends on it. And why wouldn't you do it? There's no reason to avoid it, even if it's scary, or even if it's painful. Because believe me, if you don't face the guardians of the threshold, if you don't slay those dragons, if you don't go into the underworld and have a conversation with Pluto and do the excavation, do that initiation, do that alchemical work, you are missing out. It would be like if someone said, here, just come on into this cave. There's some buried treasure down here, and you can get the whole thing. It's all there waiting for you, piles and piles of gold and wealth and power. And I'm not talking about power over other people. I'm talking about your personal power, your personal wealth. And I mean wealth in the greatest sense of the word. It belongs to you. It's your birthright. And the only thing stopping you is your fear, whatever that fear is. But there's no need to be afraid. And I think the fact that this is trining to the North Node, which is the direction of your evolution, it's your karma, it's your destiny. So do you want to go toward your destiny? If you do, if you want to be the warrior, if you want to be the dark night of the soul, and I spell night Knight, you have to go in there as a knight. Think of what's on offer here this weekend. All you have to do is get on your horse and ride into battle, and it'll be worth it. I promise you. And if you're doubting that, then go read some of those other stories, like The Lord of the Ring. Go read stories about the hero's journey. You'll see it, and let yourself be inspired by those heroes. Slay those dragons, gain the wealth and power. Again, I'm not talking about power over other people. I'm talking about your own personal power and wealth. Wealth in the greatest sense of the word. Whatever you want to accomplish in your life, you need this power. You need this wealth. You need to have this conversation with Pluto, okay? And it happens this weekend. So you are Mercury right now. You are meeting with Pluto this weekend. It's going to be incredible, and you don't want to miss that bus. You don't want to miss that boat. Be sure you're there, and I know that in the long run, you won't regret it. Even if you're feeling some fear right now, some trepidation, even if whatever you've had to go through is painful, I think as I get older, it's not that scary. I'm actually super, super excited about it. I can't wait. In fact, I'm going to be right at the front of the line. I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. Like Hermione Granger. I've got my books, I've got my wand, and I am ready to get on that train. So let's go. All right, I'm going to close this for now. So I hope you enjoyed that. And I will be in Costa Rica. Actually, I'm literally on the plane. I'm literally on the bus to the retreat center in Nosara, Costa Rica. And I am very much looking forward to it. And I will be filming while I'm there. So I will be sharing that with you on probably all three of my channels. This channel, my Freedom Seeker channel, there's always a link below, and my Patreon channel, there's always a link below. So I hope you'll check it out, and I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye-bye.